Beautiful. So my name is DanaLynn. This is our Immune and In Tune call, where we will be this is going to be a very informal round robin kind of thing. I would love to see your faces if you can. That really helps me get into the call. I want to just share just a little bit about myself. I was in healthcare for a number of years, 25 plus, as an exercise physiologist, and left the healthcare environment to open my own coaching business. And along the way, I was introduced to a fantastic way of boosting my immune system. It actually, when I met this way, it was around 2019, 2020. So I was happy to have it during a very interesting time in our history. And shortly after that, I began sharing more and more about it. And so we are going to be going into how dense nutrition can really help the immune system. I would love to hear anybody here have issues with any autoimmunity, autoimmune disease, where the immune system might be overactive. Just put a 1 in the chat if you have an overactive immune system, because that is something I'd like to know, because that can happen. And so when we're boosting our immune system, sometimes our immune system goes off in a tangent, and it thinks it's doing good, but it is a little frazzled and not quite sure what to respond to. And so my approach to immunity is really very nature-based. It's very earth-based, because the two ideas of immunity and being in tune, when I speak about being in tune, it's actually being in tune to the balance of nature and our own unique nature that we live in. And so that there's a very unique balance for each one of us. And so the two work hand in hand, because the immune system is very in tune with how we respond to stress. And so when we talk about simple hacks to increase our immunity, really what I personally focus on is how to be most in tune to my original nature. And so what that means to me is, what am I putting in my body that increases my vitality? How am I doing and saying and acting in ways that are aligned with my soul, my original nature? And then how am I each day kind of returning to that, returning to what I'm digesting, and how I'm processing what's happening in my life. And so some of the simple hacks that I think are fun to share before we get into the dense nutrition part is that our overhead lighting, our computers, our phones, all of those things are playing with our hormones and our circadian rhythm through our eyes. And so one simple hack to increase your immune system is to strengthen your circadian rhythm. And in order to strengthen your circadian rhythm, you want to eliminate unnatural light, strengthen how you receive natural light, and so that might be one thing to consider. That's not something that you hear a lot about when it comes to our immunity, but I think our artificial light that we expose ourselves to even more and more in this time really plays with our rhythms. So circadian practicing, but rebalancing your circadian rhythm, staying off the television 2 hours before bed, some of those things then helps to deepen your sleep. And so we are going to talk about sleep a little bit when it comes to dense nutrition, but a couple of other hacks are to begin to understand what you're asking your body to digest. And so this plays into how our stress level, so what we're actually asking us to, in terms of what we're watching, what we're hearing, in terms of music, shows, the stress, news, political debates, this kind of thing. If this is another simple hack, is to recognize what that does to your original nature, to your body, asking it to digest that stress. And so another piece of digestion is obviously what we put into our body. And I believe that our digestion is directly related to how we deal with stress. So many of us have belly issues when we are experiencing anxiety or other issues. So another kind of hack number 2 would be to really look at your stress and how you're digesting and what you're exposing yourself to. And then the third kind of simple hack, but then will lead us into the dense nutrition part of this talk, is really to begin to look at cravings and particularly sugar. And the reason this leads into dense nutrition is because much of what we put in our system, if it's not organic, real, original nature kind of food, it is filled with things that ask our body to digest foreign toxins, essentially, heavy metals, toxins, herbicides, sugars, oils. These things are asking our body to digest at a deeper level that then wears down our immunity, because then we're asking our body to eliminate all of those things. So when we're talking about dense nutrition, one thing that I have found, and I'm going to pause here and ask some folks that have experienced this dense nutrition to share a little bit about their experience with their own immunity. So one piece of this dense nutrition has to do with getting enough vitamins and minerals into our system when our food system isn't up to par. And so what I mean by that is that our soils are very depleted. And so when, for majority of the food out there in the grocery stores is devoid of a lot of dense nutrition, because it's grown in soil that doesn't have the nutrition it needs. So then the body is looking for more and more nutrition, which causes us to eat more, I think, and looking for what it needs. And so it can become very complex, because our relationship to food then plays into stress, which plays into gut health, which plays into immunity. And so there's not one simple piece of this conversation. It's very interrelated. And so when there's one piece of our food system that I just want to share. When we're asking our body to digest certain toxins, those toxins can deteriorate the lining of the gut and create a situation where there's leaky gut and things aren't digested well in the belly. So the core part of immunity is really to have a healthy digestive system and a healthy gut. And so when these toxins in our food system begin to wear down our gut digestion, then that tends to wear down our immunity. So there's things that come into the blood that then the immune system has to find and decide, is this friend or foe? And the reason I asked about autoimmunity is because when there is leaky gut, then there's a lot of things in the bloodstream, in the environment, in the internal terrain that the immune system has to decide and so the immune system can be very overloaded. And then when good things come in, it's not quite sure what to do. And so the autoimmune situation is where the immune system is really confused. So when we heal our gut and combine that with the ability to look at stress and look at our choices differently around how we spend our time, what we're exposing ourselves to, then our immune system can do exactly, our body can do exactly what it knows how to do, returning to this original nature. And I'm just going to pause. Can you hear the music of the belly dancers next door? Okay, well, I wasn't sure how that would go, but I'm going to try and put this a little closer. Is that better? Not better. Okay. Well, as long as you can continue to hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, DanaLynn. It's just you can kind of hear there's stuff going on in the background. Just hear noise.
Okay, it's actually in the yoga studio next door. So, but I thought with the headphones it might work out, but maybe not. Okay. So I want to really talk about the importance of this nutrition, but I want to share. So there's a nutritional protocol. Oh, good. Awesome. Okay, Bridget says she can barely hear it. So it's not distracting at all. So when I want to dive into this dense nutrition, because there's a protocol that several of us on the call have tried and have had great success with strengthening our immunity, and including, I can share some personal stories about my family. But the reason this nutritional protocol works so well is that it's built on several different layers of strengthening our immunity by helping the body and supporting the body in about 5 different ways. And so the first way is just providing that high level nutrition, food grown in regenerative soil with dense nutrition, and then juiced so it's alive, and then dried at a very low temperature, 88 degrees, in fact, using the wind, so that when you add water to it, it really is a live food. So the body knows just what to do with it. It just soaks it up. At least that's the experience I have in my body, is I drink it and my cells are like, ooh, give me more. And then, so that's the first part. And then the second part is to give the body protein, dense amino acids, basically broken down protein that the body can absorb very quickly and then begin to develop muscle and burn fat. And this is protein that the body doesn't need to separate fat from protein. It doesn't need to have a complex digestive process. It's just bioavailable very quickly. And then the third level of this nutrition is to heal the gut. So there's a part of it that pulls toxins out of the lining of the gut. And so it starts to heal that leaky gut situation. And then there's no more leaking into the bloodstream. So the immune system has to chase things around. And there's also better passing through the colon of the food. So it's strengthening the entire digestive process and releasing toxins that are on the lining that are creating that leaky gut in the first place. So, and then the fourth level of nutrition is really around sleep. It's around reducing our C-reactive protein. It's around bringing really deep sleep to us in the form of naturally occurring melatonin so that it can work together with the gut repair. In the gut, there's a hormone produced called serotonin. And when the serotonin production is very strong, then the melatonin production at night can balance it out and be strong. That's a part of this circadian rhythm that I spoke to at the beginning of the call, is when we're eliminating unnatural light, we're getting the sunlight into our eyes, that vitamin D into our skin, and beginning to return to this natural rhythm, then serotonin, melatonin can balance, and then our body can repair at night in a deep sleep. And so the fifth layer of this dense nutritional protocol has to do with eliminating parasites and unwanted things in our colon that tends to build up when we don't give our colon and our digestion a break. And so when we give our system a break from certain foods, then the body prepares to release what it doesn't need. And this is a layer of the nutrition that helps that. And so this dense nutrition is a protocol of 5, but I'm going to really pause now and welcome Rajni or Mary Kate to speak up about their experience with their own immunity since trying this protocol.
You want me to go first? Yeah, we're in the same space, as you can see. Normally she has another home, but she's in town. So we're here together. Yeah, I started this protocol last year, last summer, and I was feeling, I would say, sluggish. I was taking care of my mom, and I wasn't in my normal routine. I'm a yoga teacher, so I'm usually a little more active and a little more control of what foods I eat. And my system was a little sluggish, let's just say. So I decided to do this a 90-day protocol. And I was really amazed at how quickly, energetically I felt better. And then, after the 90 days, and I lost weight, and there was a lot of other like really positive things that I felt in my body. And so I just wanted more, like she was talking about. Once you get the like really good nutrition, your body starts to crave nutrition as opposed to like sugars and other kind of, unhealthy foods. Um, and what was amazing is like I was around people like getting sick all the time. I knew people that had COVID. I never got COVID once. I never was even, vaccinated, and I never got COVID that whole time. Um, and it's like a year later, and I've never really gotten sick. The only little ailment I had, a thing with my ear where it's a little clogged up, but I literally have not had a cold, a flu, or any kind of illness since I've been on this protocol. And I know it's because of the nutrition that I'm getting, even though I was eating organic and I tend to eat healthier foods. I just don't think that we can get the nutrients from our food anymore just because of the soils, like DanaLynn had mentioned.
Yeah, I was introduced to the protocol by Rajni. And so I had an experience where I actually had been in the hospital for obstructed colon because I was wanting to lose weight and I was doing the keto diet and it didn't fit well with me. And the remedy for that was to not eat for a few days. And then Rajni told me about this protocol, and I liked the idea about it being real food. And I decided to do it. And so I did my program from May to June, July, August. So I've been off about a month now. And I also lost weight naturally. It was quite easy. It didn't feel like I was doing anything different other than following the protocol and drinking 2 of the shakes a day. And some of the products were very amazing to me. The one that has the protein, the amino acids, and that was like something new. I'd never heard about that with supplements. And then the other one that helps repair the lining of the gut because I would have issues with my digestion and coming out the other end. And now I feel like I'm regular, like things are in a normalized state. And I did have a small cold maybe a couple weekends ago. It only lasted for 4 days because what I did was rested. I knew that I'd been going too much. I rested. I did take some gentle walks outside, and then I also was using my drinks, my shakes to like give my body nutrition that it needed. And so I think it didn't last very long at all. And it was only 4 days long, whereas other people had been sick for a week or more that I knew that I was around. So I really feel like it's because of this wonderful nutrition that I'm now feeding my body. And I want to continue to do it because it makes sense to me. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, both of you. I have a little personal story. My daughter's now a sophomore in high school, but when she was in eighth grade, this was, so that was 2 years ago. I remember she was just starting. I will be taking these products into my system for about 4 years. And the first year she wasn't really interested. And then when she started to take them, she started to not have any sick days at school. She like didn't miss any days her eighth grade year for sure. And I remember they had this big circus production, and I remember the parents talking around the table, and they were all like, oh, my kids are getting sick all the time. They're missing tons of school, and my whole family's sick. When they're sick, we're all sick. And my husband and I looked at each other, and we were like, that's just not our reality. And even since, so last year, same thing. She's a freshman in high school. She really doesn't get sick that much. And my husband and I don't think have been sick since we had COVID, the December of 2020. And so knock on wood, I don't think I've had a cold since. So I feel like it's all of it put together. And the last little piece, because I want to stop here and open this up for questions and also give an opportunity to share the specifics about the superfoods if you're interested in trying them. But the last little piece is how really some practical tips of how to stay healthy this winter. And Mary Kate spoke to it beautifully. Is we tend in the winter, at least in the Northeast, I don't know, and I think either if you're on this call, you either live in the Northeast or kind of the northern Midwest. And we tend, when it gets cold outside, we tend to spend a lot more time inside in heat. and kind of stale air. And so my biggest tip is not only to add this dense nutrition to your diet. I really recommend it highly, but also really in line with that in tune part of our immunity is get outside. Like even if it's cold, like begin to learn how to let your body we were designed to be outside in all temperatures, and so moving and being, because in the summertime we don't tend to get sick, we're often outside, we're moving around, our lymphatic system is allowed to move. But in the winter we tend to do just the opposite. And so if I could make one recommendation, well, there would be two strong recommendations in addition to the other hacks that I gave at the beginning of the call, is to add this dense nutrition in, but then get outside in the winter and just practice putting on warm clothes and exposing yourself to the cold, because the cold is really a beautiful way of staying healthy. So I'd love to open it up for questions and or comments if there are pieces that I may have left out, those of you.
I do have one little tiny addition, I guess. And I don't know if I wouldn't I personally don't do this in the winter, but in the summer, like in addition to getting outside, um, if you could take your shoes off and spend some time like actually with your feet on the earth, because the earth has all these electromagnetic, the energy that is really in alignment. When DanaLynn was talking about like our natural alignment, like we have that natural alignment. So I feel like that really helps my immunity when I spend time like sitting or my bare feet on the earth. So I wanted to add that one in there.
It's and it's very uplifting to our vibration, to our system. So another part that we didn't really get into is our mental state. Now, when we can keep ourselves in a high vibrational mental state, spending time with people that improve our mindset, and yes, getting on the earth and keeping our vibration high, that is a big part of immunity. That's amazing, Bridget. I just saw your comment. Yes. Grounding sheets on our bed. Perfect. Yeah. That's great. So,
Um,
go
I,
ahead,
I'd
Suzanne.
like to make a comment. Well, a few comments. Um, it it's very interesting that you're talking about immune and this our immune system. I just had COVID last week, and for the second time. The first time I got it was over 2 years ago, and I just thought I had a bad cold. And I was traveling with some friends. We were on this big long road trip. We were camping every night, out hiking up at 9 and 10,000 feet. And I was like, oh my God, I really have to get in shape. And I didn't know until towards the end that I had COVID. And they didn't get it because they had just had it. So, anyway, so last week I had COVID. And when I think back on, how did I get that? Because I know I have a strong immune system. And what I realized is that I had just been on the river, and then I went to visit two friends after that. And so I was still like on that high level plane of yes, just loving life and being inspired every day and feeling good. And then I had a very long flight home from Seattle to JFK via Dallas. And apparently, what a friend said is that probably there's a lot of people who have had COVID on the plane. Like a friend of hers got it coming back from the Olympics in Paris. So she said there's a lot of it on the plane. That's probably where you picked it up. And it's interesting that you tied sleep into that, because for 2 nights, I only got about 4 hours of sleep, and I was just exhausted, but I thought, I can do this. I'll push through it. I'll take a nap. I'll sleep better in a while. And by the time that a while came, I already had it. So yeah, so that's very interesting. Um, Another thing that I want to address, because it fits me personally, is when you talked about stress and how that affects our system. And what I have realized is I used to have an incredible amount, I mean, like in over the top of the charts amount of stress in my life, because I was in an abusive relationship. Um, and that has since ceased, and I've been doing a lot of healing and processing. What I realized, especially being on the river for 6 days, is how much I don't know what it's called, maybe low level stress, or it's not like direct stress, it's indirect stress because of maybe thoughts I'm having, or, oh, I have a little bit of anxiety about something, or I'm worried about something that's coming up that I don't know how I'm going to work it out. And I realized on the river that is stress also. And that was kind of a shock to me, because I always figured that's just how I think. That's just how my mind works. And yeah, I see to shift things and raise my awareness. And it wasn't until everything, I just really let it go, that I realized how much that indirect stress I have. And I thought, well, if I've got it, I know I'm not the only one. And I think it's interesting, because when we think of stress, we think, oh my God, I have so much to do, and this report has to be out, and I have to pick up the kids, and that kind of stress. But there's also the stress that's indirect, that also has a long-term effect. Yeah.
Yep, our beliefs that we carry around. Yes, beautiful, Suzanne. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to add just quickly, I just got my box today, finally, this
Oh,
afternoon. So now I can begin to get into things. Yeah.
beautiful. Well, Bridget, I'm curious, do you have a family? Do you have any questions? Are you interested in the superfoods? How can we support you, Bridget? All right. Well, um, if you're there, Bridget, we'll wait for you. And otherwise, I think I'll stop the recording unless there's anything else. Rajni, Mary Kate, Mom, anything else?
I want to underline what Suzanne just talked about, because I think that our daily, my name is Midge Roberts, as you saw on the screen, and I've been using superfoods for probably 3.5 years. And anyway, I have that's just a part of my story, the best part of my story. But um, how we normalize the stress in our lives, and we don't really acknowledge that. And I wanted to underline what Suzanne was saying, because when I was a single parent of um, three young women and, children, I just put my head down, grit my teeth, and went forward and dealt with, I think, compromising my immune system. And in my life today, I think that I have some of the fallout of doing that, that I believe my use of the superfoods is starting to heal and allowing me to move forward, especially when it comes to my mental health and my anxiety. And the thing, I catch it faster. I know my physical symptoms of when it starts to come up. And I have begun to say, oh, I know, something happened today, just tonight, and I wanted to freak out. My initial, um, my husband always says, I'm not, hang with me. We're both recovering. And he says, I'm not responsible for my first thought. Because sometimes it's a habit to go to that thought, but I'm responsible for what I choose to do after that. And that's what I see happening, because I identify those things. And I believe my balanced nutrition is an enormous part of my body, and being able to get a handle on that, and making different choices in my life. So I wanted to thank you, Suzanne, for talking about stress and how that gets normalized in our life.
Yeah, it's so far beyond. This could be a 12-week course because okay, beautiful. Bridget I'm just going to read here. Okay. Right. Great. Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you, Bridget, for explaining that and speaking up. And I'm sure that Rajni and Mary Kate will be in touch and help and support you and your family. And if there's a way that I can be involved and help, then we're here for you. I really do believe that this is the best dense nutrition on the market for the quality that it is. It is beyond organic and triple tested for any impurities. So I look forward to hearing more about your journey, Bridget, and whether we can support you. So I am going to stop the recording, but I wanted to say, yeah, beautiful. I did want to just say that it's kind of beyond this call, but our adrenals, essentially that when adrenaline is pumped into the bloodstream, there are the pathogens that live in our bloodstream actually feed off of the adrenaline. And so there's a lot of hormones that are involved in the juice of our blood when we're under stress. And so a significant even level of low level stress really begins to tax our adrenals, and then and then tax the rest of us, because the adrenaline that's put into the system then feeds things that our immune system then has to take care of. And so it is this complex soup that we end up in. So it's really, you can't talk about immunity, I think, without talking about stress. and without talking about the adrenaline that is released into the bloodstream when we're under stress. And some of it is not always bad stress. So, there might be things that you're ready to do in your life that you're afraid to do but you want to do, and that still produces adrenaline. And so learning how to use the tools like breath and meditation and being out in nature and all of these are really the simple hacks to helping be on the side of your immune system and be in partnership with your body. And so I think I'll close the recording. Thank you so much for joining us for this Immune and In Tune talk. And I trust that you got something from it and it was useful. And please be in touch with the people that invited you, because they care about you and are ready to support you in the next phase of your journey. Much love.